What's going on, YouTube? Today I want to talk about 2017 Hisense and TCL and how they both completely dropped the ball and they had a great opportunity to really make a name for themselves. What am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about two brands that had a somewhat negative or kind of bottom of the barrel perception because that's how they broke their way into the US market, was selling cheap TVs, and they wanted to change that perception. And we saw at CES this year that they both had a good showing. Especially Hisense had some stuff that was really promising in the H9D Plus, H10D, spec monster TVs that we really thought would give Sony, Samsung, and LG a run for their money. But what we saw was nothing. Absolutely vaporware. From TCL, I'll give them a little bit of a pass because they had an awesome TV with the P series that they delivered in smaller sizes, I think up to 55 inches, 65, 75, something like that, for that great TV nowhere to be found. But first, I want to get on Hisense a little bit because these TVs at CES look great. We thought, okay, finally, not only are we going to have a new player in this mid to upper end space, but we have someone that can sort of fill the void that the Samsung K series left when they switched to the MU series and pulled a fast one on us. Certainly, Sony came out swinging. The 900E is a great set. Even the down to the 850E, a good set at the larger sizes. But obviously, the 940 and their OLED TV are fantastic. But what we thought was what we could see was a lower price player that really pushed Samsung and Sony, and to a lesser extent LG, to have some downward pressure on their pricing because there's someone else in the market. But right now, as it stands, it's really just LG, Sony, and Samsung. Now, Vizio's got a great P-Series TV, but if you can find a 2017 75-inch P-Series, grab it, because we're having a real hard time in the US even finding those TVs. Those are great, by the way. But with Hisense, we thought H9D Plus, H10D, spec monsters, local dimming, wide color gamut, assuming they were going to be a lot brighter to take advantage of HDR for a price we knew the MSRP, if they hit the street, they'd be a lot cheaper. Like the H8C that launched well below MSRP, and the street price, I think, for the 65 that I reviewed was like $725. But these TVs are nowhere to be found. It's early August. We still haven't seen them. And they had press releases for them right after CES, and then another wave of press releases a couple of months ago, and still they're nowhere on the shelves. I think they're having a hard time with distribution because even the H9D that's trickled out is at B&H Photo, and it's so bad that it may even still be the case, but for the longest time, if you the first couple of links that showed up for not even retailers, just overall, where I think B&H and maybe somebody else, and when you clicked them, they were dead links to their websites. You couldn't even buy the TV, and in anticipation, they set these links up, and you couldn't even get them. So, not having TVs is really bad for a couple of reasons. One, you're trying to tell the U.S. market we're not a bottom of the barrel player, but you're acting like a bottom of the barrel player when you can't deliver to market what you showed at CES. That's crazy. So now you've got TCL saying, all right, the 65-inch P series is going to come out later this year, late 2017. And I'm sure at some point Hisense is going to release the H9D Plus, or the bigger sizes, the H10D and the Roku TV. I'm sure they're going to release them late 2017. But here's the problem with that. The schedule, the release schedule goes show at CES, release in March, and then by closer to Black Friday, you're going to have a lot of price reductions among all the players that released in March. So let's say an H10D comes out. It's a great TV. It's cheaper than the retail price on the Sony or the Samsung that competes with it. But by that time, by the time they release something, we're looking at Sony and Samsung and LG having price cuts across the board. So now your competitive advantage on pricing is gone, and now nobody's buying your TVs. So you're either going to have to slash prices, or what they've strangely done, Hisense, in the last couple of months is raise prices. So I think the retail price on that 65 HHC that released at 725 at Best Buy when it first came out, 750, 725, somewhere in there. I think it's 950 now, and its sale price is 899. And that's not even talking about Hisense globally, who's decided to raise prices across the board without improving their tech at all. And they're getting killed really bad for this in areas like Europe and Australia, where they've raised prices, I think, like 40% without any kind of improvements. And so what they've done is a series of crazy business decisions, not knowing the very basics about their market, that's digging themselves in a hole. So not getting these TVs to market in time, even if they're great TVs, you're already battling perception that you're a low-end player. So you need to get out ahead of Sony and Samsung, or at least get out and compete with them on price head-to-head when they release their 2017 or next year 2018 TVs. You don't want to be competing at your need to get retail price against their sale price, because then somebody's going to look at about the same price TV, and they're not going to take you on your word for it because you're 6 months late to the game. They're just going to buy the Sony TV. So that's really been frustrating, especially when you're backed with press releases and showings at CES, and you can't compete with that. TCL, come on, release the 65-inch already. You've already shown that you can produce this tech in the 55-inch. It's a great set, the P series. But where's the bigger TVs? Where's the 75s? Where's the 70s? That's the real spot that's prime for the taking, I think, from one of these companies, because Sony and Samsung have figured out that the 70 plus market, and I think they only do 75 now, they don't even do a 70, is willing to pay considerably more for that last 10-inch jump from the 65. If you look at what 65-inch TVs cost versus 75, the jump is tremendous. So that space is prime for the taking from one of these, and it's not like Hisense can't produce these larger TVs. So what does this mean for 2017 Hisense, TCL, and to some extent Vizio if they can't get that 75p with normal distribution? A couple of things. One, they need to spend the rest of this year probably sitting on what was supposed to release in 2017, or what's left of it, especially the H10D. You go on their website right now, there's nowhere to buy it. So they need to sit on that and maybe wait till next year to release it at an even lower price point than they thought they were, because they're going to be competing with 2017 closeouts in 2018. All kinds of gray market, eBay, even retail stores, open box. They're going to have a lot of competition. They also need to work out their distribution, because people don't trust them already a little bit. They've got a little bit of that stigma of not being a high profile, able to execute a great TV player. They need to be in Best Buy. They need to be in Walmart, Costco, Sam's. They don't need to just be online retailers, and they don't just need to be a Sam's or a Costco. They need to be everywhere. And then they need to educate the people in Best Buy, which is the biggest showrooming place out there. They need to educate the employees to be able to sell these TVs. A lot of times when I go into Best Buy, they're not even on. They're not in good display locations. They need to pay the money. Use the marketing dollars like Samsung does to get prime locations right next to other TVs that are well respected, to show that they can really produce a picture that's just as good as the rest of them at a 30 or 40% lower cost. So that's it for my little rant on Hisense and TCL. And make no mistake, it's not because I have a beef with either of these companies. I want them to succeed. I got a Hisense hanging on one of my walls here, but they're not going to be successful with these kind of blunders, and this is basic 101 know your market kind of stuff. So sorry it was such a long break from my last video. I'll be doing a lot more frequent ones. I had a kid, my wife had a kid, and I had to move in the middle of all that, 2 moves actually. So but I'm stationary now, and I'm happy to talk tech with you guys. So thanks so much. Leave me some comments in the description. Would you have bought a Hisense 65, 75-inch TV, a TCL P-Series 75 if they'd have come out? Thanks for tuning in, y'all. See you next time. God bless.